Look, this is an interesting question, and I will tell you that I'm a little bit surprised if at the Americans not being stronger on this issue. Look, there are two things here. One is that the Turks for a long time have wanted the Americans out of Syria, and they want to essentially suppress Syrian Kurds. They are very threatened by what is happening in Syria for the very simple reason that if you go back historically, they used to be very upset about what Iraqi Kurdistan, and they opposed Iraqi Kurdistan for the longest time. Now there is a autonomous Iraqi Kurdish state. What they're afraid is that the same thing will happen in Syria. So imagine if you have Iraq and Syria, who's next? That maybe the Kurds in Syria, in Turkey, will want also their own autonomy, their own rights. Remember, the Kurdish language is banned in the sense that you can't teach it, right? You get punished. Any expression of Kurdishness is seen poorly in Turkey, and people go to prison all the time. So, but the Kurds are 20% of the population. So you're talking about a very, very large group of people, almost 20 million people in Turkey who see themselves as Kurds. So the Turks are very threatened by what's going on. But to come back to the United States, first of all, I don't think that the United States gave a green light to the Turks. The question is, how strongly are they objecting? And it's not clear to me that they are, as you said, and you're right, that they are objecting very strongly, which is actually very problematic because for the Biden administration, there may be a backlash in Congress against him on this issue because Congress at the moment is very pro the Syrian Kurds, quite anti-Turkish. And remember that the United States is aligned with the Syrian Kurds for one very important reason, and that is to fight the Islamic State, ISIS. And if you undermine that cooperation, if the Syrian Kurds can no longer fight ISIS, ISIS is going to make a bigger comeback. ISIS is already making a comeback. The other day, they killed 4 Iraqi soldiers in near Kirkuk. They are trying to come back. They're not as powerful, obviously, as they used to be. But remember that there is a huge prison camp that the Syrian Kurds manage called Al-Hol. And it has up to 60,000 detainees, many of whom are ISIS folks. So imagine if those people were to be released because of this operation, etc. We're going to have a real problem. So the Biden administration should have been very, very clear. I think the final point on this, I think Erdogan is bluffing and he thinks he can get away, and he might. Let's face it, he might get away with it. I mean, as you said, Russia is distracted by what's happening in Ukraine. The whole world is distracted by that. Everybody has other big issues. And this is not as big. But I know, for example, a number of senators already who have written to the administration and have objected to what's going on. We'll see.
وكأنك تخبرني أنه ليس هناك لا أمريكية واضحة فيما يتعلق بعملية تركية في سوريا، وأن هناك نوعا من الضوء الأخضر لقصف المناطق الكردية في سوريا. ألا تشعر الولايات المتحدة بالتزام أخلاقي تجاه من حاربوا معها داعش جنبا إلى جنب؟
You're absolutely right. I mean, there is a major moral obligation on our part because we have to go back to 2014 when ISIS came into existence, right? Remember, they swept through northern Syria, northern Iraq, they took Mosul, and the Iraqi army collapsed, Iraqi Kurdish forces collapsed. The United States asked Turkey to come and help. The Turks said no. They said they prefer ISIS to anything else in the north, essentially. That was what Erdogan said. That's when President Obama decided to work with the Syrian Kurds. And the Syrian Kurds turned out to be real fighters, where the Iraqi military and the Iraqi Kurdish military collapsed. The Syrian Kurds fought back and defeated ISIS. If ISIS has been defeated today in northern Iraq and Syria, it's because of the Syrian Kurds. And you're absolutely right that we as Americans, we have an obligation to support these people. And because thousands of Syrian Kurds died to fight ISIS. Okay, they did it also for themselves. I'm not saying that they would have maybe thought ISIS anyway, but if they defeated ISIS, it's because they collaborated with the United States. The United States gave them arms, intelligence, right? So the two of them worked very well together. And so we're jeopardizing now this relationship. We're weakening the Syrian Kurds for what? Because the Turks don't want a Syrian Kurdish entity in northern Syria. The Kurds are making up, the Turks are making up all these stories about Kurdish terrorism, etc. The Syrian Kurds have never engaged the Turks in Turkey. Yes, the Syrian Kurdish organization today is an offshoot of the PKK, which everybody considers to be a terrorist organization, which has been very weak since the capture of its leader back in 1998. But the Syrian Kurds have no interest in attacking the Turks because they know that if they were to do something like that, they would jeopardize their relationship with the United States. They don't want to do that. It doesn't make sense. So the bombing 10 days ago in Istanbul, within an hour, the Turks said, or within 30 minutes, the Turks said, oh, it's the Syrian Kurds who did it. No evidence, nothing. They made it all up. They created a fiction of supposedly these people who were sent from Kurdish, Syrian areas, Kurdish areas in Syria. And look, I know a lot about the Turkish judicial system. If they want to indict you, Hasina, in UAE, because they can do it. They can do anything they want. The Turkish judicial system today is a joke. I mean, they've indicted me too. So I know how it works. So they made all this up to be able to justify an intervention. Why are they intervening? Erdogan needs it because he's going for elections. This way, he puts the opposition on the defensive. He shows that he's tough. This is very popular in Turkey. I was expecting this to happen. And so what the interesting thing will be whether or not a month from now he will announce early elections. We'll find out. But this has everything to do with his election prospects because he's not doing well. That doesn't mean that the opposition will win, but it means that he's under pressure because the economy is in terrible shape. Inflation is 85% and going up, right? There is unemployment. There is very unhappiness. So this is a distraction.